Hi everybody, welcome back to the Claremont Classic Garage. Today we're in the basement of our little farmhouse here, and I'm going to show you a few maintenance and repair things that we have to do down here. We got to keep the house running so we can keep the shop running. And along the way I'll show you a few things that might be a little bit different than a house in the city. If you live in a city or if you live in the country even. Not all country places are the same either. Let's get started. First things first, we're here in our water room. This actually, you can see this concrete wall here with the water line. This used to be a cistern in the old days when this house was originally built. You can see the wall here that I knocked out. The gutter from the roof came through here and dumped water into here, and there was a big pedestal pump here, and that's how they would pump. I think this area here probably hold about 1,000 gallons of water. And that's how they would get the water for their livestock and that. This would supplement a well that they would also have, but they would always have a cistern in the basement of their house. A lot of city houses had them too. Sometimes they weren't even in the house. They'd be in the yard buried or in the driveway. Anyway, so what we did was this water stuff was scattered all around the basement. So we knocked the end of the cistern out and we put all the water stuff in this little area here. So, first thing we have to deal with is under here. Oh, you can't see it. Hang on. There we go. Put the flash on. This is our sump pump. We've got two sump pumps in the basement here. This is kind of the other sump pump. So, you can see it's got a couple of problems. The shaft is completely rotted out. You can see through it. That's bad. And what you can't see right now is this hose. Let me run it, and you'll see the hose has got a split in it. Let me get the... You can see it leaking down in there because the hose is split. So what we're going to do is I've got a whole new pump to put in here. And we'll put a new hose on it too while we're at it. So here's our old pump out of the pit. You can see here the post is completely severed. The new one here is all made out of plastic. Is that good or bad? Only time will tell. The top end of it looks the same. Intertech. So it's the same, basically the same pump. It just has a lot more plastic in this one, which may be good. So, what we're going to do is we have to switch the check valve over to this one. And then we'll get the height of the plunger. We'll get the height of the float sorted out. And we can swap a hose onto it and get it installed. So here you can see we've got our new pump installed. We've got these two rubber things set. So that's the height that the water gets before it turns on. And then that one turns it off. I've got just a little strap here holding it to the wall to keep it from jiggling around too much. And it should be good to go. This sump pump here is just kind of a secondary one. It's not really as deep as our primary one, which is over in the far corner of the basement. This one, mostly what it does is it gets rid of this is the discharge from the water softener, and it kind of dumps into here, and then the sump pump carries it out. And at the same token, if the washing machine hose was to burst or something, the water would all go down in there, and then this thing would pump it up and out. This is not like a city house where you've got storm and sanitary sewers lower than your basement floor, and you've got drains in your basement floor. These old houses have nothing. Ground level outside is about here. So anything in here you got to get rid of. You got to pump it up and out into the septic or just out. Like this here, this is the exhaust of the sump pump, and it goes up and it goes all the way across over to the front of the house, and my two sump pumps are joined into one outlet, and out they go. Well, we're talking about getting water out. here's how the water comes in. This is what we call a jet pump. It's a convertible pump, they call it. So you can set it up for shallow well or deep well. For deep well, it's got a return that goes back and actually pumps the water in a circle. We don't need that for this one because it's got enough oomph to lift it out of our well's about 28 feet deep. So what happens, what actually holds the pressure is a foot valve in the well. So there's maybe 150 feet of 1.5 inch line attached to this that is actually always pressurized. That's what keeps the pump primed. So it pumps the water into this here pressure tank, which has just got get a good look at it here. It's got a rubber bladder inside. So as that pumps the water into here, it compresses the bladder, which has compressed air in it, and it's that which balances and pushes the water out to the house. That thing's running and running and running because the washing machine's filling up. When it comes out of here, it goes first through this filter. It's a 5 micron filter. It goes through the water softener. The job of that is to remove minerals from the water. Around Toronto, not really that much of a problem because most of the water comes from Lake Ontario and it doesn't have the mineral content that this water that comes from the ground has. And then up from there, it goes into an ultraviolet sterilizer. So if there's any bacteria in it, this thing zaps it. And then that's it, it splits. It goes here, that's your cold water service to the house. And this goes and feeds the hot water tank to feed the hot water to the house. So you may have some of this stuff in your city. This is the salt reservoir for the water softener, by the way. You put salt pellets in this. It does some chemical reaction, and it removes the hardness from the water. In the city, how you get your water pressure is from a water tower, right? You see them when you're driving around in your car. They pump the water up into a huge tank 100 feet in the air, and that head of pressure from gravity is what makes the... There, it finally shut off. That head of pressure from that tank way up in the air is what gives you water pressure in your house. We don't have that luxury. We got to make our own pressure. Then the next thing we got to deal with, our dirty old laundry tub here. I wash my mechanic hands and clean paintbrushes in here. What this has, the drain, again, there's no drain for this to drain into. It's got to be pumped up into the septic. So here's the line here going to the septic. So if you'll listen, you hear that? This laundry tub actually has a little pump in the bottom of it. See there? There's our pump. And it's a little kit you buy. And it pumps it out, up this line to the septic. Same with the washing machine. It pumps up through this line to the septic. There's the line there that goes out through the wall to the septic tank. We're going to go ahead and change this filter now. I've noticed the water in the taps upstairs is kind of slowing down a little bit, but the taps on the main floor are working just fine. That might be that it's having a little bit of a struggle pushing it through this filter and getting it up to the second floor. So what you do with this is you put her in bypass, and then you can take this off with the provided wrench and we'll change the filter. Well, the hokey plastic wrench broke as soon as I tried to take this apart, so that just became a job for another day. And another thing, when you live in the country, spares of everything. I've got a spare jet pump ready to go. It's got all the same fittings as that one. I could change this thing out in minutes and have the water flowing again in here. I've got a couple of different submersible pumps. I don't have a spare pedestal pump for the corner there, but that is kind of a secondary pump. It's not that big a deal. I could in a pinch use one of these in there. Here's our main sump pump. It's a submersible pump, unlike a pedestal pump that's in the other well. We can give it a fast check here and make sure it works. There she goes. And it'll pump that thing out. That is a really good pump. It has been the only one really that's ever been in that well. It's done me well. So what I'm going to do is, I've got a whole nother setup of this. This is the backup sump pump. So what this does is, it's basically a bilge pump from a boat. And it sits up in the fittings a little higher than that pump. So say your power went out and you weren't home. There's a deep cycle battery inside here. And theoretically, when it gets up to this height, let's see if it works. Yep. That runs. And it should pump it out at least a few times till the battery goes dead. Problem being with this is a long time ago, the hose blew on here and we had a little bit of a flood over here and the control panel for this thing got submerged and it fried it. So what we're going to do now is replace this control box. The battery charging circuit is in there. That doesn't work anymore, so we had to use this external charger on it. So I'm going to hope that I can get this all working back the way it should be and all this hodgepodge of wire can get the heck out of here. When we first moved into this house, this was a very shallow pit with a pedestal pump in it, and the basement used to always flood. Anyway, what we found out, we thought we knew it was wrong, and we had a contractor come and dig up all the way around the outside and put in weeping tiles because these old houses never had them when they were built. So they did that. They put in the weepers, they put in drain board and everything on the outside, and they put in this deeper pit with a submersible pump. And we thought we had it beat. Well, we didn't. The next spring, the floor got all wet again. Anyway, what the problem is if you could imagine, the ground level outside is here, say, about 4 feet off the ground. And in the springtime, when the snow melts, the water table in the ground is actually up around here somewhere. It's higher than the basement floor. So what happens is, because they made a mistake when they poured this floor, it's just how they did stuff back then, they didn't put gravel down. So this floor is poured right on top of the clay. So you can imagine the foundation of the house is kind of like the hull of a boat, like this. Here's the foundation of your house in the ground. Here's the ground level, right? And here's the water level in the ground, the water table. So you can see that the basement floor is below the actual level of the water. So in effect, the foundation of your house is like the hull of a boat. So what happens is you get hydrostatic pressure up on this, and what you need is gravel underneath the floor and some weeping tiles inside the house to get the water into the pit so the pump can pump it out. Well, this house doesn't have any of that, so in exceptionally wet springs, the basement floor gets wet. It's a fact of life in farmhouses. Eventually, we are going to fix it. We're going to cut the floor. We're going to trench it. We're going to put in weeping tiles, and hopefully that will mostly take care of it. Otherwise, we have to break the whole floor, dig the whole thing down, put gravel, and then put the floor back on top of it. I don't want to do that. We live in an area here, you can't see out the window here. There's too much sun shining in, but old houses like this, I'm literally the last guy that's ever going to live in this house. So they're worth way too much money now. Nobody is going to come and pay that much money and live in a 1,200 square foot 1935 farmhouse made out of wood. It's just not what they do. They knock them down and build mansions. So, I just don't have enough time left on this world to justify. I was getting guys giving me quotes of $25,000 and $30,000 to do this job. No, not happening. So we'll deal with it how we can. But for now, what we got to do is we got to get this pump and backup pump all fixed up. So we got the battery unit out off the shelf. We're going to check this over. We're definitely going to change this box. All kinds of stuff has happened to this over the years. So you can see the new computer, or the one we're going to put on, is different than the old one, right? This one's a little more vertically oriented, and this one's a little more horizontally oriented. So we just laid out and drilled the proper holes in this, and we'll go ahead and put it on. This one actually has one extra function. You can test the pump. Whereas with that one, I have to actually reach in and lift up the float. I'd probably still do that because with this, you're not testing the float, you're just testing the pump. There. Got that mounted up. Now I'm going to pop the caps off this battery, check the electrolyte level, and then I'll go outside and get my load tester, and we'll give it a bit of a load test. All our plates are covered with electrolyte, so I've closed it up, and I'm going to go outside now and get the load tester. So here we've got our cheesy battery load tester. You can see there it's showing it's just up around 14 volts, so let's put the load on it and see what happens. Oh yeah, good battery. All right, nothing wrong with that. Okay, so we got this all back together. We can go stick it back on the shelf. Okay, now we can put this thing through its paces. We got everything hooked up. You can see there the alternating orange and green lights. The battery is charging. So, first thing we can do here is we're going to test the regular pump, right? And there she goes. Jolly good. And when it's done, we don't see any sprinkles going anywhere that would indicate cracked fittings, busted hoses, anything like that. So now what we're going to do, we're going to turn our attention to the backup sump pump. And the first thing we can do is pump test. There you hear it. And when that pump runs, the alarm goes off. That's to tell you, so if you're upstairs, you can say, you might hear that buzzer and go, hey, why is that buzzer going in the basement? You could run down and say, oh, we're on the bilge pump now. So we can also operate it by its float, and that should set off the alarm too. Yep, there you have it. Reset. Now, you can put this to silent mode, but we'll leave it on noisy mode. Now we can put the lid on and put our furniture things back in this corner here. And wow, this job is done. The UV system has already been serviced for this year. It's actually got, this is the ballast and controller for it, and it's actually got a countdown timer. The bulb is supposed to be changed annually. So when you change the bulb, you reset it, and it starts a countdown from 365. So we've got 205 days left before we have to change the bulb. So we're going to have another go at this since I broke the wrench. I've got this wrapped around here. It's not too tight because I don't want to crush the thing and crack it. So what we got to do is put this into bypass. If you put it about there, it just turns it off. You put it to there, it goes into bypass. Or the other way around, not sure. But anyway, I'm not going to get soaked. That's the main thing. So that managed to get it cracked. So we'll just take it off. And we can change the filter and put it back together. I lubricated the top of it with a little dish soap to help it squish down the gasket without wadding it up. Now we'll screw the thing back on. Now, theoretically, we should be able to open it up. And it shouldn't leak. There we go. Perfect. Now we're going to change the filters in our reverse osmosis thing. What this does, it's like some kind of super duper crazy filter kind of thingy. But let me tell you, do you ever get nice drinking water from it? So, first thing we're going to do is shut off that. There we go. That shuts off the water from the tank. Cooper, get out of there. Then we're going to go up here and we got to find the little hose and we're going to turn off the actual water supply to the unit. There it is there. These things get tight. There we go. It's shut off. Okay, now we can start popping the filters off. Okay, so now we've got them matched up, and we'll just change them out one at a time. Wow, these have a lot of stuff in them. You can feel the weight of them. Maybe I'll go over to the tap and rinse these housings out. So these are rinsed out, the new filters are in, and I've gone ahead and pre-charged them with water. So we'll get them installed back on there. Then we have to change that last, I think it's just a charcoal filter between the tank and the tap. There we go, all back together. Now we'll open our valves here. Open this one. That'll let water go to it. Make sure nothing's leaking. Looks pretty good. You can hear air going through it. And we'll open up this, which will allow... Oh, you can hear it. Good. And we don't see any leaks. That's good. Okay, I'm going to go dump this water out and set these filters to dry in the laundry tub. And we'll come back and double check for leaks. Well, here's the other end of our RO. Let's see what happens. Oh, there's some water coming out. Oh, that was nice. Some charcoal dust from the new filter. We'll just let that run for a minute. Perfect. Well, I can't really think of anything else to show you down here. We've gone over all our water stuff. That's water coming in and water going out. We've got everything ship shape. We're ready. And just in the nick of time because we're supposed to get some big rain tomorrow and possible power outages even. So we'll see how that all works out. Anyway, that'll do it for now, I guess. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you learned something about the water systems in a country home as compared to what you might find in a city home. Although some of this stuff may cross over. But anyway, until we meet again, thanks for tuning in. And this is Kevin checking out from the Claremont Classic Garage. So long.